All right, we are going live. So today's session, we're going to be covering social media, 125 real estate ideas and posts that you can do. I've already typed it up into a Word document, like a checklist for you. So everybody on the call is going to get access to this. Anybody on the future call watching the recording, they'll get access to this as well. So let me go ahead and hit play. So we're going to be doing an online marketing strategy. And I'm going to give you 125 ideas for posting on Facebook and Instagram, your social media. The download you're going to get, I'm going to be emailing this out on Monday evening after this recording gets posted. So everybody's going to get a copy of this as a checklist that you can have and use. And one of the things I find is people tend to like to do spam. Nobody really likes spam. I mean, some people do, but for the most part in the world of business, I want to advise against it. So the spam I'm talking about would be like your email blasting and social media posts and random friend requests and page likes. It's like almost too much. There's definitely an art to it. And so just because I'm giving you 125 ideas doesn't mean that that's all you should be posting about is these ideas. There's definitely a balance to it. So it's kind of like punching them in the face doesn't make a better impact. So just because you have the content, if you look at some Instagram pages and all they are is real estate listings, it's like that can work for some people, but for a lot of people, it won't work. And then over time, they feel like social media doesn't work. And it's because social media is supposed to be social. You're supposed to be social and interactive with people. So don't just keep bashing them over the face with whatever your message is. The thing is that if you keep jabbing, they'll eventually learn to duck. And eventually they just won't say the word duck anymore. They're going to say a different word. And so don't just keep throwing out the jab. You got to learn the dance, and there's an art and a balance to it. To me, I like to go with the rule of an 80-20 rule, where 80% of my posts and content are personal and positive and uplifting and share-worthy. And then the other 20% is business. So I still have to build mind share of who I am and what I do. And so I do an 80-20 rule. So that means for every 10 posts I do, 2 of them will be business and the other 8 will be personal. So whenever I do my posts, I'm always thinking of my why. So why am I creating this post? Can I repurpose this for future content? Is it evergreen? And what's in it for them? Of the 125 ideas that I'm about to share with you, these would be the 3 main things that I focus on. Let me mute everybody. There we go. Perfect. Okay, so I always tune into these 3 things. Can I repurpose the content? Can I reuse it over and over yearly or monthly? And what's in it for them? So of the 125 ideas, not all of them will stand out for you, but of the ones that do, I hope these are the things that trigger your why for behind creating it. So repurposing the content, this is where I would start. There's no sense creating social media if it's going to be one and done. I mean, that's the essential of spam mail. I mean, you send out a blast email just reminding people of fix your roof tips. I mean, maybe that works for some people, but for most people it doesn't. And so if you can repurpose your content, you're going to have a higher and greater use for it. So if I take a look at my buyer follow-up plans and my seller follow-up plans, you know, like when you get an internet lead, you'll send them a thank you email right away, and then 3 days later they get another email, and then 7 days later they get another email. I'll take a look at my follow-up plans, and each one of those emails could be a social media post because now I can repurpose it and then build it back into my drip plans. If you have landing pages where you have a find out what your home is worth or an investing in real estate seminar or something like that where there's a call to action, you could create your content on social media and then include it with your landing pages. So now you have a dual purpose behind the whole thing. Most of you have an About Us page, and that's great content that you can be creating about sharing who you are and why you're in the business, because then you can reuse that after your listing presentation. You can share that with the people. Community pages if you do geographic farming or something like that. And all of your social media posts eventually could be turned into a blog post and or a written article. And so that's the evergreen repurposed content that we're going for. So of the 125 ideas, those are the things I want you to lean towards. Here's an example of a landing page I created. I'm helping some broker owners and managers with agent recruiting. So on the left, the arrow is pointing to a video. So I posted this little video about agent recruiting. It doesn't show how many people commented on that video, but there actually was a lot of comments. On the image to the right, that's a Facebook post that I did, and there was 149 people commenting that they want access to this. And so a lot of people don't know that you can actually take what you post on Facebook and embed it on your website. So it kind of shows the social proof of other people liking and commenting and wanting that product or service. And so this is a great example of me repurposing my content. I made the video and then I embedded it on my website. I made the post a couple of days later, got all the likes and comments, and then I embedded that also on my website. So after I have this content, I can even repurpose it even further. So now that I have this little program about the book ambassadors, what I could do is maybe I could do an email blast to everybody in my database. Maybe I could do another social media post, a blog post, or a drip plan. So say I have managers in my system and I want to follow up with them. I could use this as a follow-up touch as one of the reasons for why I'm connecting with them, and I'm giving them access to something for free. So that's how I want you to look at your social media. I don't want you just like, I don't know, it's like walking into a party just screaming at everybody that you're a realtor. It doesn't really work, right? There's a dance to it, and you kind of have to play the game. So this is the game that I want to play. I'm basically giving you permission to double dip. So in most cases, it is not okay to double dip. However, if you can double dip your content, there's way more power in that. So let's get started. I'm going to give you the 125 ideas right now. After I end this recording, I want to email out everybody this Word document of the 125 ideas, and it's a little checklist. And what you can do is you can make notes on what ideas you like. But right now, because I know you're just watching this video and you may not have the paper, just grab a scrap piece of paper or your iPad, or even open up your phone and create a note, like a blank note. And any of the ideas that I share with you, jot them down and use that as a trigger point. Okay, so this 125 list isn't just in random order. It's actually it was really hard to come up with 125 ideas. I aimed for 150 and didn't make it. So anyways, of the 125 ideas, mark the best ones for you personally. Not all of these ideas are going to be a good fit for everybody, but certain ones are definitely going to stand out for you. So just cherry pick the ones that you like. So I would start off with doing a video for your seller page. So the call to action would be about finding out what the home's values are in your area. So you could make like a quick little 30-second, 1-minute video. You could even do a Facebook Live about it. And then take that video and embed that on your seller page. So now you can repurpose the content. You got it out as a social post, and then you got it on your website as well. On the flip side, you can do the same thing for your buyer pages. So if you have any find your dream home page or email alert type of pages, if you can add a video to those pages, that would be great. So why don't you make the video for your social media first, then take that video and embed it or re-upload it onto your website. You definitely should do a video about us, meaning you, yourself. So who are you? How long you've been in the business? Why did you get into the business? What's your family look like? What's your brokerage look like? Like, build the rapport of who you are and what you do. And that's a great little social post. You could do that maybe once a year, a little update on what's new with your life. And then you can include that on your follow-up. So after you meet a buyer or a seller, that could be maybe part of a future drip that you send them, the About You. Any videos about your community. So there's a couple posts here. One you could do about the area. So you could do a video or an image post. Doesn't always have to be video, but you could do a video about the area, about the transit, so the subway system, the highways, that sort of thing. You could showcase businesses in the local area. So if you have a farm area, you could break it down into different segments, even talking about the schools and the parks and the coffee shops. So you can break it all down into different segments and post it on your social media, but then take those posts and add them to your website on a blog talking about that community, because Google will have a better chance finding you not on social media. Google's going to have a better chance finding you on your website and on your blog. So take your content that you make on social media and then put it on your website. Video of vendor partners. So vendor partners would be like your mortgage broker, your lawyer, your home inspector, that sort of thing. And what you could do is a video with them, of them, about the 5 W's: who, what, where, when, why, and how. So who are they? What do they do? Where do they serve? Why do they do it? How do they get into the business? And how would a consumer reach out to them? So you could do a quick little 5 W's video with the person, literally in about 5 to 10 minutes. Doesn't have to be long. And when you're doing these videos, tune into what's in it for the viewer, not what's in it for you or the person you're interviewing. You're obviously going to lean towards that for what's in it for the person you're interviewing, but people aren't going to watch more than a minute of just like droning on about some guy they don't know. So if you can start off with like, why would a buyer want to use a home inspector? And you ask that question, and then that person is going to go through and answer the question. So I would start off that way, make a little video, and now you can repurpose that content as well. If you didn't want to do a video, you could just do a picture of you and the home inspector standing side by side, and then write out like a little Q&A as the description of the Facebook post as well. So here's one of the best ones. All of you should have a drip follow-up plan. So when you get internet leads, when you get buyer leads, when you get seller leads, you should be adding them to your database, and that database should be having some sort of touch program, whether it be like 7Touch, 14, 33, 100. Like, I don't know what your touch program consists of, but this is a great exercise for you to go through, take a look at what are all the touches in your program, and then see if you can turn that into a social media post. Also, a lot of you guys use the touch program pre-built, canned from whoever your provider is, and usually it's garbage. So in my opinion, I never used another person's drip. I always just wrote my own based on my own language, my own market, my own personality, and how I would want to receive stuff. And so this is a good exercise for you to go through that drip plan that you have, update it, and now you've got a whole bunch of different social media posts that you can do. So an example, when you do an email drip for people that just registered on your website, normally you'll send them a thank you email and like an introduction. So in the introduction post, I would talk about who are you and why are you emailing them. So you could do a Facebook post talking about the same thing. So say, hey, when you guys are thinking of buying a home, what happens is you end up registering online, looking at real estate for sale, and you end up getting connected with a realtor. I'm your local real estate agent. My name's Danny Wood. I serve the blah, blah, blah area, boom, 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 boom. And you just talk about who you are in the area that you do and how people can reach out to you. On the second drip, I would talk about how to use my website. So maybe 3 days later, I would send them an email that has a video of me sharing with them how to navigate our website and how to use our website and how to use the tools on our website. So I'm like, hey, if you want to pull off a list of all the open houses, this is how you do it. If you want to use the mortgage calculator, it's over here. So there's a tool that I use. It's called Snagit. Snagit, and that allows you to record your computer screen. And so I would record my computer screen showing these buyers how to use our website. But since I already had to do that, why don't I post it on social media as a drip? So I'm sharing people how they can use and navigate our website. Another drip would be expectations. So I talk about the expectations to the lead with the frequency that I'll be in touch and the actions that the lead should be taking. So it's kind of like a mutual expectation. So if you ever find a listing that you like that I didn't email you and you're wondering why I didn't email you, just call or text me. So I'm clearing that up. I'm clearing the air on the expectations. So because I already have to do this in my drip program, why don't I do this in my email, social media, and do a social media post about the expectations of when you're working with the realtor, your agent should be doing this, 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 and this, and you as a buyer, you're going to want to keep an eye out for this, 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 and this. And that's a great little touch. Content emails. So sometimes you need filler with your touch programs. I never really used the filler because I hated it. but a lot of you do. And so if you are going to use filler, I would say make it relevant. So do like market updates, average days on market, seller versus buyer market, that sort of content. Not really like cooking recipes. And no offense if you do that. If you do that, that's great. Like everybody does things differently, and I'm sure it works for different people. I'm just sharing my opinion. And so if I was to create content emails, it would be definitely real estate related with the thought in mind of what's in it for them. The testimonial. So I would make it local and relevant to the market. So I would have testimonials about myself and about my team, but I would make it relevant to today's market. So if it's a buyer market, I would have a bunch of testimonials about working in a buyer market. And then in a seller market, I would switch out the email to talk about working in that market. So make it local and make it relevant to the market that you're currently experiencing. And you can cross promote or cross sell buyers and sellers. So if I had a buyer lead, maybe a couple days later, I could talk about them selling a home. Or if they're a seller, maybe a couple days later, they could get an email talking about becoming a buyer. And so you can cross-pollinate the ideas. And this is a great social media post as well, where you can talk about both sides of the coin. Some other ideas would be buyer objections. So sometimes when I get a lead on the phone, I get objections like, oh, no, we're just looking. We don't really want to get emails from you or followed up with. And so if you need help with objections, there's a ton of coaches, there's a ton of content online. You could just type in real estate buyer objection, and there's so many of them out there. And you could take a look at all the different ones that they give you the answers to, and then make a little video about it. So you could do a video post, transcribe that video into a blog post, and use that in your follow-up drips. So see how your social media can be used on a blog and your email. It's like we're using this for 3 different things instead of just a one-off social media post. So you could do like a Wednesday video series where every Wednesday you talk about common buyer thoughts. And then you would say one of the thoughts a lot of buyers have is that they're just looking and they don't want to work with a realtor. Well, as a buyer agent, you don't pay our fees, so we can help you out with the information gathering, blah, 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 blah. So like do your own little twist on how things and explain things to people. Other buyer objections, people say that the credit isn't good. So again, do a video post, transcribe that, and use it as a follow-up or a drip. So if you don't know how to help people with credit, then start connecting with people that are like a mortgage professional that could help out with that and get their opinion. Create content together with other people. Some buyers say that they have a friend in the business, and that can be real dicey because we all know it's not a good idea to work with your friends in certain businesses because it's very emotional and you can ruin friendships real easy. And so that's something that you could talk about. Some buyers, they want to sell first before they buy the home, which makes a lot of sense. So then you could talk about finding out what your home values are and getting put on the market. Or on the flip side, there's actually scripts out there that help you with aligning people with actually getting out and looking at homes right now and selling after. So it depends. Whatever's a win-win for the client for sure is the way you want to lean. Reducing the commission. I remember the first time I had a buyer lead say that he would only work with me if I paid his mortgage. And I was really insulted and confused at the same time. I didn't even know how to respond. I'm pretty good at thinking on my feet, so I'm sure I responded like politically and correct. And I don't know if I ended up working with that guy. I want to say probably not. But some buyers have the feeling that they can get a reduction in commission. Well, one, the buyers don't pay the commission, so that's just, they don't need to worry about that. And 2, if they're wanting you to pay their mortgage, that's crazy. So anyways, you could do a video kind of talking about that and making people see the reality and the truth of the question that they're asking. This is a big one. A lot of people are just looking for their friend, and they're not actually the one who's buying the home or selling a home, which is like a huge shield that they use. And so I could easily do a social media post that says, hey, we generate a lot of real estate leads here in the Oshawa, Whitby area. And one of the things we find is that a lot of people are actually looking for their friend. So if that's the case, if you're looking for your friend, then reach out to me because I can set you up on a daily home alert. It's going to be free and set you up with all the homes that match your friend's criteria, and we'll email it to you daily. And that's just my way of helping you with the information gathering, blah, 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 blah. And so there you go. So you could make a little video post that on social media, and then you could add that to your blog and use that as a follow-up. So a lot of the times when I use these follow-ups, I look at my website as a curated piece of content that I use for helping people. And so, for example, one of the questions I just had when this webinar started was on time blocking. So I had a page on my website that kind of addressed that. So I was able to easily just pull up that page and share the link. And so when I'm in the real estate business working with buyers and sellers, I get a lot of common questions and objections and follow-up things. So I just made blog posts, and I would just keep reusing the same post over and over and over. It made my job way easier. Open houses, pros and cons. Open houses, keeping you in the loop. So this is like if I did an open house and a person like came through and registered, and then on the following Monday you email people a touch program. So I would, the first email, let me back up, the pros and cons, I would be asking them about the pros and the cons of the open house that they were at. And that would be like my touch point. But then I would also be talking about the pros and cons of some people are just professional open housers where all they do is go to open houses and they've got like 5 real estate agents that they're working with. And so there's pros and cons to going to an open house. And so I share with people that we set up private open houses for people, and you're working with somebody who's working on your best behalf, not the listing agent, blah, blah, blah. So I talk about the pros and cons. You could do another video about keeping people in the loop. So we can keep you on the loop on all the open houses every weekend in your area based on your criteria. So if you're just in the market, kind of dipping your toe in the water and you just kind of want to take a peek at what's happening, this is what we can do for you. Another social media post could be about the open house alerts, which I just covered. How is the market? So there's a lot of Q&A questions. So a lot of people would just generally ask you hey, Dan, what's up? What's new? How's the market? Well, why don't you do that as a social media post, right? Talk about the days on market, talk about the stats, talk about is it a buyer market, is it a seller market. You could do that as a monthly post, by the way. A lot of people ask, when is a good time to sell? Some people have questions about renting versus buying, so you could do the pros and cons to both. There is pros and cons. Like I don't actually live in any of the homes that I own. I rent them all out. And so I just kind of travel month to month living in different cities. So that's my pro. So there are pros to renting as well. However, there's a huge pro to owning. So anyways, you can break it down to the pros and cons of renting versus buying. A lot of people say should they buy or sell first? And that's a question that should be had with that buyer or seller, depending on the market and depending what their needs are. So that's not like a universal answer, but you could do a video on Facebook talking about that question and then breaking it down with like, in this type of market, you should be maybe leaning this direction, but depending on your circumstance, it could be a different answer. So make a quick little video talking about buying or selling first. Q&A, deposit size. A lot of people ask that question. So here we are. What I did was I broke down what are all the main questions that people ask when they're buying or selling a home. If you created your answer list to all of these questions, you don't have to like shove it down their throat on all of them, but sometimes you'll be talking with somebody and they'll be like, yeah, well, I don't know about the best deposit price. And then you can just send them a Facebook message or something directly to your website answering that question. So deposit size, answer that question. Some people don't understand the value and benefit of being pre-approved. So you can talk about what is a pre-approval and how to get pre-approved. Average days on market, this is something you could do monthly, talking about the market stats in your local area. Buyer contract, some people don't understand, why do I have to sign a buyer contract? I just want to buy directly from the seller and not work with anybody. And so anyways, you could talk about the benefits of working with a buyer contract. Land transfer taxes, in some areas, there's a land transfer tax, well, most areas, I don't know any that don't. And so you could break that down and talk about specifically how the land transfer tax works in your area. And you could do different examples of that. You could even do a chart showing in this price range it'd be this, and this price range would be that. Closing costs. So this is an important one. You definitely want to work down all the closing costs. In fact, this is something you should be doing with your sellers when you're at the listing table to discover what their net sheet is, because you want to make sure that they're going to be able to move. And so helping people discover what their closing costs are. So you could make a quick little video doing the closing costs for 3 different property types on 3 different price ranges. If there's unique taxes on investment property, sometimes investment properties have a different tax depending on the state or province that you're in. And so you could make a little video on that if you even deal with investments. And foreign buyers, sometimes there's a tax on foreign buyers. I know in certain cities that's a real issue where property is getting bought up and not even lived in. It's just like being a holding shell for money, and it's driving up the cost for all the local residents. And so anyways, if that's something that's happening in your area, you could easily do a little Facebook post or a video post or a Instagram post talking about that. I like video because it can be repurposed in multiple different ways. If you don't like doing video, then just do a picture with a written description. That's fine as well. Zoning and rezoning is a question that people get when they're buying and selling homes. If there's future developments in your area, like a new highway or a new subway, something that's happening in your area, you definitely would want to talk about this, get a blog going, because not a lot of real estate agents do that. And so if you're one of the 3 that do, I mean, you got a good chance of getting found on Google. Condition on financing. I definitely would be explaining what this is, and then also condition on home inspection and letting the sellers know, because sometimes a seller is kind of pissy with the idea of like a home is sold and then they have to wait 7 days or 5 days or whatever, and they don't understand the whole process of selling their home because they haven't sold before, they've only purchased. And maybe they purchased in a hot market and they didn't do inspections or financing, they just bought cash. Anyways, sometimes you have to explain things like this. So hopefully some of the ideas you're like, yeah, I could definitely reuse a lot of this content. Think about what that is and do a social post about it, do a blog post, include it in your drip plans. If you're into pre-construction, you could definitely be going to the job site, doing a little video of you standing out front and talking about it, going indoors to their showroom and covering the different features and elements that they're predicting and going to be offering, that maybe showing some of the floor plans, that sort of thing. Condo versus freehold, that's a common question. Some people don't understand the difference between the two, and so you could do a little post about that. Rent to own is a real deal. It's a real thing, and it actually works and not works. It depends who you are and the market that you're in. It has definitely worked for some people to do rent to own. It also has not worked for some people to do rent to own. So anyways, you could do a little video. If you don't know how rent to own works, you can just Google search it, find a company in your area that does rent to own, and maybe you could do an interview with them. Title insurance, explaining what that is and how it works and how to get it. Fixed versus variable mortgages. Mortgage rate holds. I think I talked about that. Shoot. I already added one. Grow ops and stigma property. So this is definitely a concern in certain parts of the country that are legal with growing certain products that more and more people are growing indoors, and they're getting a little carried away with it. So anyways, you could do a little video or a social media post about grow ops and stigma. Power of sales and foreclosures. I used to get a ton of business marketing power of sales and foreclosures, mostly because people wanted a good deal. By the time I got them on the phone, I would find out that they don't actually want a power sale or a foreclosure. They just want a great home that matches their criteria. And they're always trying to get it for as cheap as possible. So they ended up becoming just regular buyers and sellers for the most part. But definitely by me posting and talking about power sales and foreclosures, I used to do ads about sales and foreclosures for anybody on Google who searched that. It would take them to my landing page, and they would get a list of all the duplexes, triplexes, and fix and flips in my area. And so I would have a video of me talking about that, and that video or that post I could use on Facebook and Instagram as well. And I definitely would have. If you have seller objections, so list and buy and save, some people say, well, if I list with you and buy with you, will you cut your commission? And so anyways, you could talk about that, and you could maybe not do that as a social media post, but you could definitely want to do that as a blog post or something that you can share with people, because that's a question. And if you have a video of you explaining it, that makes sense. What makes you different? So about the marketing you do. So this is a great one where you could do a little video about all the marketing and all the different things that you do for people. So basically think of like your listing presentation when you're showing them the marketing part of it. You could do a little video or social media post just about that, showing all the different marketing that you do for your sellers. Some of the objections that we get from sellers is that your price is low versus other real estate agents, and that's because other real estate agents might be just saying any price to get the listing, where you're probably giving them an accurate price on the market conditions with reality. And so you can share with them how, yeah, I totally understand. Sometimes when you meet two different agents, you'll hear two different price points. And so sometimes the agents will give you a higher price because that's what you want to hear, and they'll get the listing. And then a couple weeks later, they'll go for the price reduction, because if you want to move your home, you have to get it back in alignment with the market. So this is why sometimes our price might look lower than other people's, and other times we're right on the mark. It just depends who you talk to. So I'd make a little video talking about that. Sell when the market goes up. The seller says, yeah, I'm thinking of selling, but we don't want to sell just yet. We're going to sell when the market goes up. So you could make a little video talking about the market that you're in today and the concerns that you have about the future, because we don't know what the future is going to hold and when or if it will go up. And this is the current market that we're in. And if you have to move, blah, blah, blah. So you could easily do like a Wednesday post just talking about that. So maybe if you get a seller objection this week, next week you could make a little video being like, hey guys, I was listing a property, and this is one of the objections we got. He was thinking of selling when the market goes up, and this is the answer that I gave him, and I just wanted to share it with you, blah, blah, blah. And so it's a great way for you to repurpose your answers. Team versus single agent. I mean, I could be a team and identify why you wouldn't want to work with a single agent, and I could be a single agent and identify why you wouldn't want to work with a team. So it depends. I'm always like, I'm the current person sitting here in front of you, and I always do the best I can with what I have, and this is how we do it for you. And so depending if you're a team or a single agent, you could do like the difference between the two and make a little video. Some people, before they list their property, they say, well, we don't want to list our home yet. We want to buy a home first and then list our property. And there's a great concern with that. So you could share that concern with them. And when you do that, why don't you do a social media post about it also? I need to net a certain amount of money. Some people will say, well, I need to net a certain amount of money. This one I totally get. I mean, if they need to net something before they sell, like I'm not going to try and get them to sell for anything else. That won't work. It has to be a win-win for them. But there are coaches out there that have objection handling scripts specific to this question. And this is a common question that if you don't know the answer to, you're going to want to look it up. Some sellers say that they're going to sell it themselves. And so we've all seen those memes of the posts where it's like the seller saved $5,000 on commission, sold for X number of dollars, lost $30,000 on sale price. And it's like pretty funny. I always kind of laugh at those memes. Anyways, you could do part of the seller objections would be a little video of you talking about the concern of like, well, when you sell it yourself, you're not going on the MLS, you're not having all of this marketing power behind you, you're not part of our brand and our national company who advertises across the country, you're not part of our relocation program, you're not part of this, and this. You're looking after yourself, blah, blah, blah. So you could make a video talking about that. Test high and test the market. A lot of sellers think, well, that's great. I understand the price that you're telling me. However, I think our home is, I know our home's not worth 250, but we're going to try and list it for 275 anyways, or 280, and we'll come down later. And a lot of people try that tactic. And so if you're not well scripted on how to handle that, some agents will just go with that flow. And then what happens is the seller ends up getting angry at you because you didn't sell the home and your for sale sign was in the front yard and all the neighbors know that you're overpriced, and it just all around looks bad at you. So if you could do this, turn that into a social media post, talk about why you don't want to list high and test the market when you already know what the market price is. Need to finish projects. Some sellers say that they need to finish certain projects, like certain renovations, which in many cases they definitely would want to finish before you put the home on the market, but they can finish those projects while you're getting the home prepped and ready. So while you're doing all the paperwork and doing the exterior photos and that sort of thing. So sometimes it's better to get the home on the market sooner than later, and so you can share with people the benefits to that. Other agents cut their commission, and so you can talk about that. I mean, a lot of you guys are experiencing this when you're at a listing presentation and they're like, well, man, we're interviewing 5 other agents and 4 of them are all saying a different commission price. Why are you X amount of dollars? And so you could make a video explaining that program of like, hey, some agents are 3%, some agents are 5%, some agents are even 6 or 7%. And so this is the reason why we lean towards this percentage plan, is because we do this, and this, and you can talk about that. Other agents cut, oh, did I duplicate it? Yeah, skip that one. Open houses every week. So some sellers want you to do an open house every single week. And that could be a marketing strategy for you. And I totally get it. I used to do open houses every week as well. I know doing an open house at the same listing every week can get draining. And over time, by the 5th and 6th time you've done it and nobody's gone through that day, putting those signs away is real draining. You're like, man, I just wasted my Saturday. I'm not with my family. I could have been doing this. I had this to do, blah, blah, blah. So you could make a video on why it's not a good idea to do an open house every week. Maybe you have a partner at the office that does open houses for you. That way you're not the one expected to do the open house every time. So you could talk about open house agent program where we have a different agent every week come in and do an open house at your listing. That way it's not always the same marketing happening. That way we turn over different stones. Anyways, I worded that weird, but you get the point. Never heard of your company. So this isn't true for some of you, but some of you it is. So if a person has never heard of your company before, maybe you could do a video about it, a social media post on Facebook and Instagram, and talking about the company and why you joined it and the benefits to the buyers and sellers of this company. Some people want to list after the holidays. I mean, a person's going to list when they want to list, but you can make the debate and have a conversation with them with maybe why it's not a good idea to wait and to take a look at what the possibility is now. Wait for the market to come back. So sometimes the market is changing and they just want it to come back. And you can make a video about that and show the histories of the different times that your market took a dip and how long it took to take back on average and blah, blah, blah. Offer too low, they'll wait for the next one. So after you have the listing, some agents are like, well, this offer's too low. We're just going to wait for the next one. So you could make a video talking about that, being like, hey guys, last week we had a listing and the offer came in just a little too low than what they wanted, and what they wanted to do is wait for the next one. And this is the answer I gave them, blah, blah, blah. And you share the answer with Sometimes the first offer is the best offer or the only offer that you get. And anyways, check out the different scripts that are on Google, different coaching companies, ask your broker of record. Uh, these are all already answered for you, and you could just make a video based on each one of them. We have a unique home, so some people are like, yeah, I know you're saying it's 450, but we have a unique home. It's actually like 490. And you're like, no, it's not unique. That's what you want to say, but you don't say it because that'd be rude. And so anyways, if people have a unique home, you could make a video talking about that. Now, shifting gears a little bit, if you have a listing, you could do a coming soon post. So what I like about Facebook and Instagram stories is that they're short-lived, and that's where I would put more of your spam. So on your Instagram as a regular post, when you post that, that will stay forever. And that's fine. But a lot of times the only reason you're really posting is to build mindshare and remind people of who you are and what you do. So I would say it's probably better to do your more spammy messaging in the stories part of it. So do a Facebook and Instagram story about the coming soon. You could do like a drone shot behind the scenes type of thing and be like, hey guys, take a look. We got a new listing coming up. It's going to be hitting the market in 2 weeks. Check this out. And then you do like the drone, or you're running through the kitchen, or whatever you're doing. Then after you've listed the property, you could do a Facebook Live. Hey guys, we just went live with this property, just hit the market this morning, blah, blah, blah. Do a social media post about it with the feature sheet, or not the feature sheet, but featuring the property with the picture of the property and then a link to your website so that people can check it out. So just listed, obviously, if you have any open houses, again, that's a great one for the Facebook stories because they're short-lived. I mean, the open house is only going to be there for a week anyways, and so you don't need that in your timeline forever. So just do a Facebook story about your open house. And let me go back. While you're at your open house, you could do a Facebook Live or an Instagram Live while at the open house. Say you ever do an open house and nobody ever comes through. Well, why don't you just do a Facebook Live while you're at the open house and do a virtual open house, and you'd have like, whatever, 30, 100 people come through and see it. Listing just sold. So after you just sold the property, you could do days on market. Hey guys, we just sold it in, the average day on market in our city is X, and we sold it in 2 days or whatever. Or the average price in this area is X, and we sold it for XX. So you could talk about the differences, and you could definitely do like a Facebook post or an Instagram post. Definitely solds. I would be, every time you sell a property, posting about that, because like if there's one thing you should be marketing, it's that you sell property. If you have a buyer, you could talk about, we have a new buyer who's looking, and you could talk about their criteria, their wants and their needs, and do that as a Facebook story or an Instagram story. Or even as a video, just like right on your Facebook and Instagram. I wouldn't do that for all buyers. It depends how busy you are. Remember the 80-20 rule. So I'm giving you guys a lot of ideas here, so pepper it in there, 80-20. Okay, property feature. So you could feature specific property types, so like luxury. So I could do a weekly feature every week of my top 4 favorite luxury properties, and then have people vote on them. People love being interactive. So like, which kitchen do you like better, the left or right? And you have 2 different kitchens of 2 different properties that are currently on the market right now, and they're both luxury. In the description of that post, I would put the direct link to my website of each of those listings and be like, you can actually have both of these kitchens. Just check out our listings below, and you could feature them. So people love those like kind of comparison type of things and voting. So take a look at like 4 luxury properties in your area. And in one image, you can do a grid where it's like 4 pictures in one picture, and have people vote or comment on what kitchen they like the best or what backyard they like the best. That's a really fun one, by the way. Income property. So if I worked with a lot of investors or I focused on income property, I would do the same thing, only based on duplexes and triplexes and fix and flips and power of sales and investment opportunity in my area. And just do the same thing, the vote for 4. Every Wednesday you could do your top 4. Same thing with condos. If you do the condo market, waterfront, like start thinking of the type of properties that you deal with. In Canada, we call them bungalows. In the States, you guys call them ranch style homes. And that's basically a home that has no basement. It's just one level of a home. And so generally speaking, bungalows are really sought after by people that are getting older because they don't like stairs, but they also don't want to, they're not ready for a condo yet either. So there's a certain age group. And anyways, you could do vote for the top 4. Homes under, this is a fun one. So you every week, man, if you only did one of these posts, I would do this one. So let's just say the average sale price in our area is like 400,000. What I would do is I would pull off a list of my top 4 homes under 299, so under 300,000. And they definitely do exist. There'd be a couple out there. And so every week I'd be posting my top 4 on the homes that are under average price. That really builds mindshare with people who are like, oh yeah, Danny knows all the deals. So social media memes, photoshopped as you. Move with Michael. I know a ton of agents from all different brands that are really good with social media. This one guy cracks me up with he's got a good balance of personal and business, and the memes are just on point. Like whatever is happening this week in pop culture and in the news, somehow they twist that into a real estate related photo of him photoshopped in the moment of whatever everybody else is talking about. And it's bang on. Like they must have a weekly meeting on that. It's hilarious. Social. So let's get social. Use polls and quizzes. So when you do your Facebook post, you can actually do a poll or a quiz. And when you do an Instagram story, you can do polls and quizzes also. So get interactive with it. Just don't overdo it. So remember that top 4, so your top 4 homes under 100,000, you could have where people vote yes or no on which ones they like in your stories, and people would actually vote yes or no. And the thing is when people actually interact with you, there's an algorithm with social media and Facebook and Instagram. So if you and a person communicate with each other, like you private message each other or you like each other's photos, that brings both of your awareness up. So when the other person posts, there's a greater chance you'll see it. So if you can get people to be interactive with you, that just enhances the future opportunity that they're going to see more of your stuff. If you can do any giveaways, so connect with local businesses that can contribute something of value that you can give away. And it would be like self-promoting them as well. So if you can, that'd be awesome. A lot of you own multiple businesses. Like a lot of you are in real estate, but your spouse is something else. So maybe you could cross-pollinate the idea. Local news and events. So anything that's happening local in the news and local events. As long as it's positive, share-worthy, and local, that could be a post that you don't even have to create that content. Somebody else already created the content. You just share it. Industry news. So that would be real estate industry news. So leverage the boards and associations. They tend to give monthly material. Every month, a lot of them have like an email that goes out or a journal that goes out or magazine or something, and go through that and see is there anything in there that relates to the consumer, and then relay that to your sphere of influence. Before and afters of like home staging and renovations, people love those types of photos. So you could do a before and after of both of these. People love that stuff. Company news. So if you work with a franchise or if you work, obviously you work at a brokerage. So if there's ever any company news that impacts or affects the client or the consumer, then I would share that. Maybe they updated their website. Maybe they got a new app. Maybe they got a new CRM that the agents use, and what this enables you as an agent to better serve your clients. So you can share that news with your sphere of influence. DIY for do-it-yourself, seasonal tips. So think of like the spring, summer, fall, winter, or the holidays. So is there ever any DIY seasonal tips? I mean, you could just Google search or YouTube search DIY spring, DIY winter, DIY Christmas, DIY Halloween. And you'll find all these other people showing you really cool do-it-yourself projects for those things. Right there, every quarter, that's some of your posting right there. Seminar and conference recaps. So if you ever invest the time to sit and listen to somebody like you are doing with me right now, thank you, then why don't you recap what you learned and how it helps your buyers and sellers? So if you ever go to a seminar or a conference, do a quick little recap at the end, maybe a Instagram story or a Facebook story of like, hey guys, it's Danny, I'm over at this conference. I'm here because it's going to help my buyers and sellers for this reason. This is what we learned. Boom, 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 boom. And you laundry list the things that you're helping people with. Staff features. So like say you got a new front desk staff person, or they are having a baby, birthday, or any exciting behind the scenes like renovations, new car, just whatever, anything that's happening that shows other people other than yourself, because some people don't realize you have a village behind you. You've got yourself, you've got your admin, you've got your marketing, you've got an outsourcing agent. Maybe you don't have any of that, but that's definitely not just you, because you've got the brokerage you work at, you got the front desk people, you have the call service, like the answering service. You got all these other pillars that help you out, and so share that, what's behind the scenes with them. New branding is a great social post. A lot of real estate agents have to update their headshot. Just throwing that one out there. And so if you do need a headshot, that's a great post right there. Every season could be a new banner. So your Facebook banner for your business page and your Facebook banner for your profile, you could change that up every season. Most expensive listings. So people love stuff like this, and you could do it monthly. So kind of like that luxury top 4. You could do the 4 most expensive listings in our city this month, and you could like have, as long as you have permission to do the marketing. Like I would call those agents and say, hey, I want to do a Facebook post. Is it okay if I do it about your listing, and get permission? Once I got permission, cool. So I would talk about the 4 most expensive listings and how cool is this bowling alley, and look at this guy's helicopter pad, and this guy's got a submarine or whatever. So you can talk about the really cool stuff that people can't afford, and they love engaging in it. Monthly market snapshots. So like doing a year over year and a month over month, days on market and average price point. So every month, this is what's called an infograph. So you can find somebody, you can outsource this on Upwork or Fiverr to do a real estate infograph. And once they have a template for you, all you have to do is get them the numbers, and then they'll plug in all the numbers, and every month you've got a new post. Top things to do, like the attractions, hikes, or businesses in your local area. Top restaurants, so local must-tries. Top schools, list the contact info and the details of the schools in your area. Utility services, so the contact info and the details of them as well. List of all of the contractors. So kind of create like a little Rolodex and list off all the different contractors, the junk removal, the painter, the HVAC, the roofer, electrician, general contractor, and give like 3 options for each. And if you create this list, what ends up happening is you built your database of like 50 other people in your sphere of influence now. Any quotes? I do this with my mom. I am forever always looking at quotes and things that inspire me, and I'll just text it to her. So we have like, if you looked at the text messaging between my mom and myself, it's just a long list of quotes and or me asking her to make me a lemon meringue pie. That's pretty much all we text about. City fun facts. So go to the library, and there's definitely a curator, and spend time helping find 12 fun facts about your city. So like go to the library and be like, who would I talk to that knows a lot about the city? We want like a fun little social media post that talks about the 12 fun facts that nobody knows about Oshawa. Who would I talk to about that? And the librarian is probably going to point you in the direction of somebody. Maybe you got a museum in your city, go there as well. And try and find 12 fun facts, because if you have 12 fun facts, that's 12 different posts, 1 a month. Local Throwback Thursday, same thing. You can go to your library or like the local museum if you have one, and try and find 52 old photos of the city. So like Oshawa being built, or Toronto being built, or New York being built, the library when it was built, the city hall when it was built, Main Street when it was like dirt roads. You know what I mean? Try and do a little project. Take your kids or a niece or a nephew and make like a fun little day trip out of it. And this will create like 52 posts for you. Not that you would post them all right away, but you would have a library of them. That way you didn't have to think of future content to make. Anything to do with animals, people like the animals more than they like you, basically. I know one agent, he's got this ongoing thing that he talks about cats. So he's like, how many cats do you think we're going to find today? I got 3 showings. And people will like be commenting. And then at the end of the day, he'll recap how many cats he found. And because I guess he always sees cats at listings in his city. And it's just like an ongoing joke. But it's like a fun way for him to remind people of who he is and what he does. And like, I don't know if it's okay for you to snap a picture of somebody else's cat, but definitely like your own friends and family and your own buyers and sellers, you could definitely like take a photo of their animals. Listing presentation. So I would do a screen recording of my listing presentation using that Snagit tool and turn it into a video, because that video could then be transcribed into a blog and now have a blog post talking about my listing presentation. And a lot of agents be like, oh, I don't want to share that. They're going to steal my idea. Then don't do it. But for me, I'm so giving. It doesn't matter. Like if the fear of missing out is just not even relevant. Don't worry about it. Just keep moving forward. Nobody's going to do you better than you. Buyer presentation, same thing. We had a buyer presentation sharing with the people like why they want to sign the buyer rep and who we are and the services that we do and the benefits of working with us. So again, I would screen record that, and I could include that recording in like an email drip to people, right? Do a virtual presentation. Seminars. So partner up with other people to hold like a first-time home buyer seminar or an investing in real estate seminar. Normally you could partner up with like a mortgage broker or your bank. They can provide the space, or you have the space at your office, and they can be the ones who are doing the seminar. But because of this seminar, now you've got a ton of social media content. You can post about the date and time of when it's happening and to get people enrolled. During the day it's happening, you can be posting like behind the scenes type of stuff, like quiet before the storm, showing them like the desks all set up or whatever. And then afterwards, the photos of all the people having a good time. So seminars produce a lot of quality content. Cost of living comparison. So for my example, I live east of Toronto, so Oshawa. So Oshawa is a lot cheaper than Toronto. So I could do a comparison of the greater Toronto area and say like, Oshawa is this amount, Toronto is this amount, Mississauga is this amount, North York is this amount. So I could do like a breakdown of all the different communities, and I could highlight that we're the most affordable one in the area, if that's the case. That's a win for me, maybe not for others. Book of the month. So you could do like make it real estate related or not. I mean, it doesn't always have to be about real estate, but pick a book. You should be doing at least 1 book a month. If you're not, switch over to audiobooks and just listen to audiobooks while you drive and turn your car into your own university. And so anyways, every month, pick a book and then summarize it with all the best points of that book. And one, it's just going to make you a better person because you're growing yourself. And 2, people are going to like look at you as a leader and a knowledgeable person, and it gives you fun content that you can share about that you like talking. Buyer checklists. So we're right at the 1 hour mark. I'm going to keep going. If any of you have to leave, I'm going to send the recording on Monday, but I want to blow through this if we can. So buyer checklist. So this would be a home buyer checklist. If people are thinking of buying a home, we would create a buyer checklist. Go to Google and search to see what other people are using. And once you have this checklist created, you can post about it on social media. Same thing with a seller checklist. So you can do a seller checklist based on selling a home and all the things that the person has to do before they get their home ready for sale, and make a seller checklist. Open house scorecard. So this would be for people that are going to open houses. You can create a notepad for them and they can take notes on the property that they're viewing and create like a little scorecard. This open house scorecard can also work for just buyers that are generally looking at listings when you take them around. So slow and steady, if you keep making these pieces of content, you're going to have a crazy ass arsenal of material that is quality that you can keep leaning on and leveraging. Open house checklists for sellers. So like get out of the house, man. We got no, you got to leave. Turn off all this stuff, turn on all this stuff. So create a checklist for your sellers. That way every time there's an open house or a listing or a showing that they know what to do. List of real estate definitions and abbreviations. So TLC, ELFS, BD, SC, SPP, DJW. I'm just making up words now. But a lot of you guys, when you guys are on the MLS, you use such crazy abbreviations. The consumers don't even know what the hell they're reading. And so you could create a list of real estate definitions and abbreviations that make it easier for them, kind of like a little cheat card. Energy saving. So make a checklist with ideas and the contacts that they can call on saving energy at their home. Child home safety, same thing. Home staging, same thing. Fire safety, same thing. Gardening and landscaping tips. This is great for photos, especially. Doing a bank versus broker breakdown is a great social media post that you can then put on your blog or on your website. So list the pros and cons to both, because there are pros and cons to both, and give contacts for both. You should definitely have contacts at the major banks in your area and contacts at a couple different mortgage brokers in your area as well. Repairing your credit score. So do a top 10 and partner with somebody who can help them. So the top 10 ways to repair your credit score, and then give them somebody's contact information they can contact to actually help with their credit score. Speaking of credit scores, what are they, how to find them, and what not to do? So you ever sell a home and then the week before the home closes, the person's like, yeah, we bought a car. You're like, what? What do you mean you bought a car? You just bought a house. That's going to totally impact your debt ratio. What are you talking about? And so anyways, credit scores. Do a little session on credit scores. And this is something that you can share with people like after they buy a home. Hey, take a look at this. I don't want you buying a car, okay? You'll understand when you watch this video. And they can watch the video. Different types of loans. So there are different types of loans. So what are they? How to find them and who to contact? Like, what's the best one? Top 5 apps for moving. So curation is key here. Think of the home searching apps, room measuring apps, open house apps. Your company might have an app. You might even have an app. So think of like the top 5 apps that people should be using in your area. And then you could make a blog post about it, a social media post about it, and link to each of the different apps to help people out. Create a list of famous people who have bought a home or sold a home in your area. That's a fun one that you could do. Chamber spotlight. So the local chamber of commerce is business people that meet up. So if you join that local chamber of commerce and do a weekly spotlight on each of the members, that could be just an ongoing session on its own of a Facebook Live that you could do once a week or every other week. It also, let me backpedal. It also builds your database of those people. You would build real relationships with them and you get their contact information and everything. Testimonial trades. So for example, connect with 20 plus friends who are in the business and write positive reviews about each other. So I could even do this at the local chamber. So I'd get like 5 people and be like, hey, we're going to do a lunch session where we all meet up for lunch and we're going to log on to each other's Facebook and Google and we're going to give each other good reviews because we're all awesome. And so there you go. You just got 20 plus reviews and you did it over beer and wings. Tour local Airbnb. So create a list of the top Airbnb listings in your city, feature them and add them to your database because all these people obviously own a home, right? And so these are people, so just create a little tour where you're going through all the Airbnbs and you're creating a top 50 list or something. And there's a lot of benefits to you doing this. One, you're building your database of people who own real estate. 2, it's real estate related content. 3, it's fun. You can go around looking at these homes. Go interview the mayor on the top 10 reasons for your city. So the top reasons to live in the city, the top 10 reasons to do business in the city, and the top 10 reasons to invest in the city. Every time you get a new mayor is a new post that you could do. List community Facebook groups. So think about your farm area, special interests, and events. So Facebook has a thing called groups. And groups is different than a page. A group is a group of people that are commonly connected about that one topic. So if you can create one about your farm, awesome. Or if you know any about your city, find all the different Facebook groups that relate to your city and then create like a list of them. And then you could do a Facebook post about that. List of yearly events. So create a list of the major events that happen in your city and list the dates. Link this to a blog post and update that yearly, because like the parade happens the same time, the farmers market happens the same, like whatever. I don't know what's going on in your city, but generally speaking, you've got the same thing happening over and over. And there you go, list of that. Top 5 lists. So you could do the top 5 coffee shops, top 5 places to get wings in your city, top 5 pizza. So doing those posts, one, it gets you out in the community, building relationships, building your database, and creating cool content that people actually engage in. And a broker corner where you could do meet up with your broker of owner or your manager monthly or quarterly, depending on their schedule, and ask them to talk about pressing issues in the industry and to summarize. And so they'll talk about what's happening with maybe whatever. I don't want to polarize things. So there you go. I'm going to be emailing this out to everybody of the top 125 real estate ideas. I hope you like this. On Monday evening is when I'm going to email this Word document that has the checklist, and you can go down and start chipping away one at a time. So remember the 80-20 rule. Even though I just gave you a ton of ideas, I don't want you to just talk real estate. I want you to be 80% you, 20% real estate, okay? So till the next time, I'm going to schedule the next group call and we'll be together. Thanks, everyone. Hey, if you want to close more real estate transactions, get more buyer leads, and get more seller leads, click this button right here. It'll take you to our real estate group coaching page. Also, if you like this video and want more, you can subscribe by pressing this, or you can check out some of my past videos here. Enjoy!